I'm talking to you. This is the Goddess of Science, Biology, and I'm Mrs. Bolton. Today, we're going to talk about cell structure and function, in particular, the cytoplasm, cytoskeleton, nucleus, nucleolus, and the ribosomes found in a cell. Okay, so we're going to talk about different organelles, and I want to remind you that this is only for eukaryotic cells. Prokaryotes don't have organelles or membrane-bound organelles. They have some organelles, but not the ones that have membranes. And only eukaryotes have membrane-bound organelles. So one of the things we're going to talk about today is the cytoplasm. It's a semi-fluid substance inside the cell membrane and outside the nucleus. It's kind of what everything floats in there. All cells have some sort of cytoplasm inside of them. And this is really for really slow transport of substances. It takes a long time to move things just using the cytoplasm as a mechanism. It's also a really huge site of reactions. The reactions that have to happen in a cell, a lot of them take place in the cytoplasm. The next part we're going to talk about is the cytoskeleton. And it's a network of protein fibers that do pretty much the same thing that your skeleton does. Your skeleton gives you shape and allows you to move. The cytoskeleton gives the cell shape and also helps it to move. So if you're looking at this little drawing over here, you see the cytoskeleton is kind of like all over the place here, and then the organelles are kind of like placed within it. So they're kind of not static per se, but they are kind of in one place or a very small range. So the cytoskeleton is all through the cytoplasm of the cell, and it provides a framework for the cell. Also, it's a place that the organelles can get anchored to, so that you have, like, the endoplasmic reticulum is near where it's needed, near the nucleus. So it kind of gives them a sense of place. It also helps to move membranes on cells like little amoebas that are able to move their membrane and be very flexible. The cytoskeleton is the thing that enables that to happen. And here's an EM picture of a cytoskeleton. So it looks like kind of a snarled up mess, but that's what cells have in them. The third one is kind of the big cheese of the cell, and that's the nucleus. The nucleus is usually found in the middle of the cell, and it has really a big function. It controls the activities of the cell, and it's also responsible for reproduction of the cell. It's surrounded by another membrane system called the nuclear envelope. And the nuclear envelope has little holes in it, and we'll talk about what the holes are for later. They're called nuclear pores. The nuclear envelope is actually made of 2 phospholipid bilayers, so 4 layers here. So you have one phospholipid bilayer and then another one right on top of it. And it has nuclear pores, which allow some substances like ribosomes. Ribosomes are little tiny organelle. They're made in the nucleus. They can go out of the nucleus through the nuclear pores. Also, RNA can leave the nucleus that way as well. So it allows some substance, very few things, in and out of the nucleus. The nucleus also has chromatin in there. Chromatin is just spread out DNA. It kind of looks like a big old snarly mess of yarn, but it's actually the DNA of the molecule, and that's in chromatin form most of the time in the cell. When the cell is getting ready to divide, all that chromatin gets like organized into what we call chromosomes. These are these classic X-shaped structures in the nucleus. So you only see chromosomes when the cell is getting ready to divide or is in the process of dividing. So a chromosome is nothing more than a bunch of condensed orderly DNA. Chromatin is that wild, spread out, tangled up mess that is found most of the time, and then when the cell's getting ready to divide, that wild tangled up mess organizes itself into the X-shaped structure called a chromosome. And chromosomes in the middle here have this thing that's called a centromere that kind of holds the pieces of chromosomes together, and we'll talk more about that when we get to cell division. Excuse me. The nucleus is such a big cheese that it has its own organelle inside of it called the nucleolus, and which happens to be number 4 in our hit parade. The nucleolus is in the nucleus, as I just said, and its only job is to make ribosomes. And we'll talk about ribosomes in just a minute. Hey, look, why not now? Ribosomes are little protein factories. They usually leave the nucleus, they'll go out into the cytoplasm, or they'll hang on to another structure called the endoplasmic reticulum. So ribosomes are made of a nucleic acid called RNA, and it has kind of like a protein spool that it kind of winds around. They're made by the nucleolus, and they're either found floating free in the cytoplasm, or they're attached to the endoplasmic reticulum, which is going to be our next organelle. So all cells, even bacteria, have ribosomes because ribosomes don't have a membrane surrounding them. Bacteria need to produce proteins, so they too have ribosomes. They're not attached to endoplasmic reticulum in bacteria. They're just kind of floating in the cytoplasm. Okay, so that's it for today. Thanks for joining me. Have a great day.